Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming out. My name is Lisa Bunn. I created this event as a spin-off of the Keeping Our Kids Safe. So basically, the Keeping Our Kids Safe is for younger children. And I serve on 3 disability boards across the state. And I've learned that a lot of families gripe about there's no services once their child, turns 18, everything just drops. So this is the part of the reason I created this event. So I work part-time at AchieveAbility Therapy. I'm a guardian community liaison there. We have 3 locations, one in Lutz, one in Wesley Chapel, and one in St. Pete. Our Lutz location is the main hub that has, on top of clinical services for ABA, OT, and speech therapies, we have a private school from kindergarten to 12th grade. And then we also have an inclusive daycare as well. So a little background about myself. I have a 12-year-old daughter with autism. I recently retired from the police department with over 20 years of experience. So back in 2020, when COVID hit, I received the first strand. I was hospitalized many times. I almost didn't survive. And as a result of that, that caused me to be disabled and it forced me to retire. But on the last hospital trip, I didn't think I was gonna make it. So I was like, oh my God, my daughter, is she gonna be able to survive on her own? That kept rambling through my head. So on top of seeing all the gripes from the community across the state, I was like, okay, I need to create this event because I never thought when I first got hired on the force, you always think, okay, you're gonna get a shot, you're gonna get in a car wreck, you're gonna get in, a resist that's gonna cause you to retire early. If you would have told me a pandemic would have took me out, I would have never believed you. You creating this, you just never know. So I created a panel of panelists to cover very many important topics to guys help you plan for your child so they can be secure and safe. So our first presenter is Sean White. He's also a veteran and also he was prior law enforcement as well. So let's welcome Mr. Sean White.
Thank you. So yeah, I used to be in law enforcement, did that for a few years. Let me see. I was in the military beforehand, and I also have a son who is special needs. I have a daughter who's special needs, and then I have a third one who drives me to feel like I'm gonna be on disability soon. So, and I also have a brother who was on the spectrum as well. So whenever I decided that I was gonna get out of law enforcement and I didn't know what I was gonna do with my life when I grew up, I started going to law school and decided to take those struggles that I had with my son, trying to find services and trying to find out what I need to do to, make him the best that he could be. And I was gonna take those skills and I was gonna use them to help other people. So we decided to open up Panther Law, me and my wife, and our goal is to help people, with those struggles. So one of the things I'm going to talk about today is guardianships. So when your child reaches 18 and they're not necessarily able to handle everything on their own, we're like, what are we going to do? And that's where guardianships come in. So the first question I always get is, who's eligible to serve as a guardian? Well, it's really, unfortunately, it's not that difficult to be a guardian. All you gotta do is be 18, not have a felony conviction, not have any history of abuse or fraud or anything along those lines, and be a Florida resident or be related to the person by blood or marriage. But the question is next then, well, what do I do if I want to be the guardian, or how do I find a professional guardian that I know I can trust? And I always tell people it's best if you can have a family member, but if you can't, then Hillsborough County actually has a list of professional guardians that you could go through and vet. And they're a little bit more vetted than if you just try to look them up online. But whenever we get to that point, the next thing they always ask is, well, what's the next step? How long is this gonna take and what should I expect? So you're gonna have to go through a background check. Again, we're looking for those frauds. We're looking for that elder abuse. They're gonna check your credit, make sure that you don't have any kind of anything where you're gonna be relying more on the ward than the ward is relying on you. Yes, I've seen those situations before. It's unfortunate. And especially whenever they start to get some of the benefits that the other folks up here are gonna be talking about. And that comes to another thing that we do here in Florida, which is we have to do yearly check-ins and we do accountings. And these are things that we go through and we double check and we make sure that if somebody is using that ward's assets, they're using it for the benefit of the ward and not for their own benefits. But there's also another side to it, I think, that we should talk about, and that is that there are some alternatives to guardianships. And I think the folks here are gonna be a lot more proficient in those. They're usually the folks that I would send you to. And I was gonna talk a little bit about that, but I think I'm gonna let them do that. But what I'm gonna talk to you about also is trust, because that's another question that we get a lot, is special needs trust, and how do they work? And what can I do with them? So what we do with the special needs trust is we set it up and it is for the benefit, again, of the person with the disability. And it allows them to still collect Social Security and other kinds of benefits from the state, but then to have a little bit of extra money. So if we want to do those, anything to help them a little bit more than what the state can provide. So the state, unfortunately, does not provide for vacations. And I'm sure everybody understands that you want to take a vacation every now and then. So having a special needs trust means that we can have some money in there so that that person, that individual, has the opportunity to still go take a vacation, do those kind of things. Has the opportunity to, if something new comes out that the government hasn't completely caught up on yet as being a great resource, they're able to try it maybe before the government gives them that resource. So anyways, that's who I am. If you have any other questions, like I said, I'll try to keep it brief. We can talk about your specific situation. I'll be back there in the back with my wife, and we'll answer any questions that you guys have. Thank you.
So I forgot to mention, we are going very quickly to respect everybody's time here. It's gonna be like a Cliff Note version, so we can break free, and then you can meet with every individual to talk about your personal situation if you have further questions. And we'll ask questions at the end of the presentation. Our next presenter is Javier Morales with the Social Security Administration.
Well, good evening, everybody. Thank you very much. Thank you, Lisa, for the invitation. Definitely, we're excited to be here today. My name is Javier Morales. I have been working for the Social Security Administration for 17 years. I will try to keep it brief. The office that is shown on the presentation is the office that I work, which is the Tampa location in North Florida. However, if you have to do business with Social Security, you want to check the office that corresponds based on your address. A little bit about myself. I've been working for the agency for 17 years. I do not have any child who get benefits, but through the process in my career, I was able to help many people, many families to get those benefits processed. I started in 2007 as a contact representative. Basically, is the first point of contact when you go to an office. When you see those windows, that's when I started working for the agency. Later on, I moved to a claim specialist, which is basically where I take retirement benefit, disability benefits, and SSI insurance benefit as well. Moving forward, last 6 years, I was working as an operations supervisor for the Tampa office and St. Pete office lastly. And most recently, since 2021, I've been working and kind of related to the pandemic when Social Security reopened the doors. With full benefits, I was approached to see if they wanted to take the position of public affairs specialist on the Tampa Bay area, since we didn't have one for maybe 8 years ago. So it's been very rewarding, be able to talk and be able to educate the public about our services, how it can apply, and any question that you may have. I'll be briefly, but I will have been a last table in the middle. If you have any question, please do not hesitate to contact. On the bottom side, we have our Social Security website, including the parents. If you have not created an account, one of the best way that you can get a lot of information is by creating a Social Security account online. So I do have this card on my table, which will give you the instructions on how to create an account. I also have a QR code where you can scan and you can actually take it directly to the account that you need to go. As well, if you create an account, you can replace your Social Security card. I just want to say that because that's something new. And that's one of the reasons that most people go to an office. Of course, as you guys know, disability could happen to anybody at any moment. Not only children, could be also an adult. And Social Security is there to provide some financial support with some loss of those income. Who qualify for benefits? Basically, somebody who have a disability that is going to last for 12 months or longer. We do not pay short-term disability. I believe in your pamphlet or in your folders, you should have a pamphlet called Benefit for Children with Disability. It does have a lot of helpful information there. We have, when people think about Social Security, the first they associate it with is probably retirement benefits, spouses benefits. But one of the benefits that we offer that is and I think we have over 1 million children getting SSI benefits now in 2023, I think it was. So we do have a lot of children getting these benefits. Supplemental security income is basically people who have very low income and resources. If you have a child that lives with a household where the parents' income might be too greater to qualify for the SSI benefit, it doesn't mean that age 18 is the opposite. We don't longer count those income for those children. So they potentially can qualify by age 18 if they're not getting those benefits. We also have children benefit, what we call SSDI. In order to qualify a child under the SSDI, basically one of the parents have to be joint benefits. Whether the parents file for retirement or sometimes parent pass away earlier and they work long enough where the child qualifies for these benefits. And these children can potentially qualify for benefit even if they're not disabled in this case. However, when they turn 18, they can file a disability claim under the parent's record at age 18, which is different from SSI. And you can find more information in page 7 for this pamphlet. Employment support program for young people with disability. If you have a child getting SSI and that child decides to do some work, I heard a lot when they go to the teenager age, sometimes they do some work. So they allowed to work, and SSI is a need-based program. So every income they receive, it will affect the benefits. However, if the child is under 22 and in school, they can make up to $2,200 a month, and we will not count that against the check. So they'd be able to receive the benefit without any interruption. And that's a maximum up to $9,230 this year, I think, for 2024. And you can also find that in page 10 for your pamphlets. What happened when your child turned 18? That's a question that I believe Lisa mentioned earlier. So basically, the decision that we make in disability is different from a child from an adult. So therefore, when they turn 18, all we do is we do a medical review to see if that child is still disabled after 18. If it is, they continue with the benefits. It's a pamphlet that I have at my table that is specifically talk about that. I know we gotta keep it brief. And of course, Medicaid will come automatically if you qualify for SSI. Who can get benefits? This is under just like I kind of stated earlier, if your child living with a household and one of the parents receive Social Security retirement and they have minor children, they automatically qualify for these benefits. What would qualify as a child? You have to be under age 18 or 18 and 19 if you're still in high school. Of course, if you're disabled before age 22, that child can continue those benefits into they're no longer disabled. If you have any further questions, I'll be in the back. Please don't hesitate to stop by and ask me any questions directly if you have. Okay, thank you.
So when he's referring to the pamphlets, you guys are gonna be gifted with a goodie bag at the end of this presentation that was sponsored by Panther Law. And it's gonna be stuffed with a lot of good information. Another thing I wanna add, my table's in the back and my business cards are over there. If you hear something and you didn't catch it, this event is being recorded. So AchieveAbility Therapy will have this recording later down the line. And if you want to join my email listserv, send me an email and you'll always get resources, trainings, etc. Our next presenter is Mr. Milton Moss with Vocational Rehab to discuss employment for your child.
Thank you, Lisa, and thank you for all your work putting this together. Certainly, having done these before, I know what's involved with that, and just very good, so thank you. Like Lisa said, my name is Milton Moss, and I'm an area supervisor with the Florida Division of Vocational Rehabilitation. How many of you are familiar with vocational rehabilitation? Okay, so quite a few hands. In a nutshell, in the Cliff Notes version, what the Division of Vocational Rehabilitation does, we're a state agency funded by the federal government, and our mission is to help individuals with disabilities. Sorry about that. I like to walk around when I talk. Our mission is to help individuals with disabilities, either physical or mental health, obtain and maintain employment. So we're all about jobs. And if an individual has a disability, they want to work, they have the ability to work, they could benefit from assistance, getting training and employment, that is what we're here for. Please talk to me at my table and please come and see us. I want to spend a couple minutes here talking about youth, since this is the focus of our meeting tonight. One of the major initiatives with vocational rehabilitation is to help our high school youth, disabled high school youth, make that transition, from high school to post-secondary training, however that looks, to working. And we have just an incredible array of services. I could probably talk an hour about it, but in a nutshell, what we do for the transition students is everything from any type of evaluations, vocational evaluations, what's an appropriate and achievable job, training for that job, how that looks, work-based learning experiences. We have career camps during the holidays when school is not in session. And really, to be quite honest, anything that we can do to help that individual make that transition out of high school to get skills for the future, and then to actually go to work and to obtain and maintain employment. And like my predecessor said, that if somebody receives disability, they can work up to a certain amount of income and certainly qualify working with us. And so bottom line is, I would just really encourage you, if you're a young one or anybody, we work with people from 14 up to their 80s and everything in between, to come back to my table, talk to me. Certainly we have our website, rehabworks.org. And like I say, I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to see everybody here and look forward to talking to you. Thank you.
So if you guys want to photograph his slides, and you're more than welcome to photograph any of the information. Here's his bio. He's been doing it just a little bit. No, so a copy of this PowerPoint presentation, that's where you need to email me or be on the lookout on AchieveAbility. That'll be at the end.
I have excellent handouts back there.
Yeah.
Come see me and you guys are taken care of.
Do you want to cover any of this information, your mission and everything?
Yeah, I think my talk basically covered
Okay.
it. I could put notes for it, and sorry about that, I'm not the biggest.
No worries.
person.
Our next presenter is Catherine Sanchez with Heart to cover transportation. We also have Sunshine Line here as one of our exhibitors in the back as well to also, we have different options.
Thank you, Lisa. Good evening. I'm Catherine Sanchez, Customer Service Supervisor for Heart. We are the public transportation for Hillsborough County. Thank you so much. Let me try to do the slide here. So I'll be brief. I first started with Heart 9 years ago as the bilingual travel trainer, and I'll talk a little bit about that. And then I was quickly promoted to my current position, and I did a year of interim manager. But a quick story, I first heard of Heart because my grandmother used to ride the bus. And she used to work in downtown, and she fell asleep one night and ended up at the Brandon Mall. And the driver was so gracious to call my mom, which didn't speak any English, and tell her, I'll wait for you to come and get her. So I said, wow, this is the type of company that I want to work for. So, so if you're interested, we're hiring. So a quick short video just to tell you a little bit more about what we do.
It can be easy to think it doesn't look like much where you are now. Everyday Heart delivers public transit to count on. 15,003 miles, 34 routes, 47,715 turns, 2,583 stops, 351 bikes, 71,981 shoes, 615 rides to school. But it's usually the smaller numbers we notice. The 10 seconds it always takes Gary to realize he missed his stop. The 4 days a week Jen and Chandra laugh their way to Dad's for lunch. The 2 years Sam has been working the late shift while studying for his dream job. Those numbers mean lives and hopes. Birthday parties, retirements, weekly hangouts and first dates. Vacations. Another round of chemo. It can be easy to think it doesn't look like much where you are now. But look at what you've already accomplished. And if you hadn't taken that step every day for 2 years, you wouldn't be here today. No one knows what awaits in your future. The dream wants you there. Strength gets you there. Purpose keeps you there. Heart takes you there.
So hopefully the video embodied our mission, which is we take people to the places that enhance their lives. And I know it's important for you guys as your children grow older that my passion is independence. So a little bit of our services are Heart Plus Paratransit, and I'll go into more detail in a later slide. It is our door-to-door service within our area. It is by reservation, and it's a 2-step process to apply. It's the application, and I have some with me in the back, and also an in-person interview. Then we have our Heart Flex route, which is a hybrid, and a lot of people don't know about it. And specifically our route in South County that runs from Ruskin all the way to Waimama, it's a curb to curb. So it's by reservations, first come, first serve, or you can just use a walk-up service like a regular bus. It's only $1 in the whole zone or $2 round trip. And then we have our local routes. So that includes our Metro Rapid, our Heart Flex, our Limited Express routes, and others. Our main hubs are Marion Transit Center in downtown, or MTC. and our University Area Transit Center, UATC up by Veterans and USF. And then we have several others throughout the county. We do service 365 days a year. So yes, Christmas and New Year's, our drivers are out there serving the community. We also offer flamingo fares. So besides paying cash, exact fare on the bus, or our daily or monthly pass, we have a smart card or an app. And the neat thing about Flamingo Fare is that it has a fare capping. So once you tap twice, it already knows to stop charging. And then a certain amount of days, it will be free for the rest of the month. We also offer passes for HCC, USF, adult students, and discounts as well. Seniors, 65 or older. We have for youth from 5 to 18, veterans, and people with disabilities that ride the bus, not necessarily Heart Plus. And all our vehicles are ADA accessible. So we have wheelchair access, and we just got 2 new buses with a quantum technology. So it's a rear facing wheelchair securement. So it's a little bit more secure. So if the bus stops, it's gonna go backwards instead of frontwards. So it's a little bit safer. And also under ADA compliant is we have the destination signs, so you can see where the bus is going, if it's going north, if it's going south, you can see the route. And on board, it also does the verbal announcements. So are we approaching a main street and connecting routes? And they're all equipped with bicycles as well. And I don't know if you guys ever heard, but we operate the Tico Line streetcar. So it's wonderful, it's free, it's been free for a couple years, probably will continue with the FDOT grant. It runs downtown through Channelside to Ybor City. It's every 15 minutes, and we just had our highest ridership for Gasparilla. And once a month, it has a live band onboard concert. So check them out to see when that's showing up. So Heart Plus Paratransit, I'm pretty sure you guys are interested in this service. So like I mentioned, it is a door-to-door, but public transportation. It is for people with disabilities that cannot take the regular route. It's a shared ride, and it's available 1.5 miles within our zone. So if you can see the map, that's where we would pick up and drop off. It mirrors the local route. So we're not quite 24 hours right now, but if you're in your area, it starts at 6 in the morning. That's the earliest we can pick up, or whatever late we can drop off. The fare is $4 per trip. And we also offer coupons for maybe those riders that can't handle cash, right? Like I mentioned, the application, I have some, they're Spanish and English, or you can go to our website, goheart.org, and print it out. Or just call us and we can email it to you or mail it out to you as well. Once we receive the application, it does have to be filled out by a professional certified health professional. And once we receive it, then our coordinators will reach out and set up an in-person interview with you, right? And it's at our Marion Transit Center in downtown. And we can provide transportation if needed as well. Besides the fare, you can also take a companion for $4 per trip. And then for some folks, a PCA, which is a personal care attendant, may come with you at no charge. Travel trainer. So this is near and dear to my heart because this is when I started with Heart 9 years ago. And I love this service, and we're excited because now we've just hired for a travel trainer. We haven't had one for 2 years. And this is for folks that don't know how to ride the system, like my grandmother. We give step-by-step, in-person, custom instructions on how to write our service, right? We'll meet with them at their home. We'll walk to the bus stop, show them all the ins and outs, how to read the schedule, how to pay. We'll set them up with our One Bus Away app. Tells you real-time information, keeps you up to date if we have any detours or any service changes. And the great thing about it is, if for some of you that might have some outreaches, our travel trainer does presentations. And we also do group experiences. So we'll hang out with a couple seniors and go to the mall. All right, so I leave you with our customer service phone number. Here's our schedule. If you have any questions, you can reach out to us. And I always say, yes, we have concerns, but our operators are out there day in and day out doing an amazing job with the little funds that we have. So if you do have a good experience, please, I encourage you to call in and give a commendation. And also visit our social media. On our YouTube page, not only we have our ADA committee meetings, but we've just started a campaign, Heart for All, and we are showcasing riders in our community, most of them young adults with disabilities that are using our service, that it's positively impacting their life. They're going to work, hanging out with their friends, going to the movies, and just enjoying life. So thank you so much. Have a great evening.
Our next presenter is with Bay Area Legal Services. He's also a veteran. And I have to say, he's been working for the agency longer than I've been on earth. Martin, lawyer, he's going to be talking about housing.
Sí, claro. Yo soy Martín, abogado. I'm Martin Lawyer. Okay. I don't know if I can do this with my eyesight and hold the mic, and I'm going to be very brief. I'm here to talk about access to low-income housing, and I prepared a handout that covers it from about 4 different angles. Who you apply to, what types of income-assisted housing there is, and then resources for locating housing from the various centers. And lastly is the consumer protection that you have. And I'm going to end with one sentence. I always, whenever I give a presentation, I do like to make eye contact, is I always say, if you remember one thing that I say tonight, whether here or at the table, it's if you're applying for housing for yourself or somebody else, before you do that, go to one of the big 3, TransUnion, Experian, and get a credit report for yourself. So you know what's on there, because you don't want to be surprised. And as a supplement to that, I will say the criminal information is going to be on there too. So you have situations where, I mean, there might be more than one Catherine Sanchez. I don't think there's more than one Martin Lawyer, but there might. So records get mixed up, and you have a right, you have substantial rights under the U.S. Fair Credit Reporting Act. And then I do federally subsidized housing. So if you know somebody who has a problem with a Section 8 voucher or project-based, of the types of housing that I mentioned in here, then our lawyers handle that. I'll say one word about Bay Area Legal Services. We do almost any kind of civil case you can imagine. For the general qualification is that your income has to be below 125% of the poverty limit. We have a lot of special programs that would represent people over that, including victims of domestic violence who might not be documented citizens. So that's it. I think there's going to be question time up here, and then my table's back that way, and I'll talk to you then as long as you want. I just can't give legal advice. But okay, 813-232-1343, that's Bay Area Legal Services. Thank you.
Our next presenter is Josephine Ancion with Sunrise Community.
Hello, everyone. My name is Josephine. I am the Community Resource Specialist for Sunrise Community. Sunrise Community, so a little bit about myself. I was a former elementary school teacher. I taught in Tallahassee, Gaston County Schools, and Leon County Schools, and then I had the opportunity to begin employment with Sunrise Community. I've been with the company going on 3 years. So just a little bit about Sunrise Community. Sunrise Community, our mission is to create valued lives for people with disabilities. We pride ourselves in taking an individualized approach to address the unique needs of each person's receiving services. So at Sunrise Community, we provide a plethora of services. A lot of the services are covered through private pay, some through the iBudget Florida, which is also the Medicaid Home and Community-Based Service Waiver Program, the ICF, IDD program, as well as Social Security grants and donations. A lot of the persons that we support are adults, but we do also have an early childhood program where we also service children. Currently, we are located across 7 states and we provide services to about 1,200 individuals across the state of Florida. Some of the services that we provide include residential. Here in Tampa, we have 2-day programs. We also have opportunities for supported living, supported employment, personal supports, respite care, companion services, behavior supports, nursing services, therapy services, including occupational, physical, and speech therapies throughout our various operations. I'm going to talk a little bit about residential. So with residential, we do offer 2 different types of residential. We do have 6-bed group homes. Here in Tampa, we have 12 residential properties. We have 3 in Tampa, and the other 9 are located between Brandon, Valrico, and Riverview. And so with our 6-bed homes, again, they're group homes. So we do have different group homes that are in residential areas. They're not labeled. Only people that know what the homes are a staff as well as the families that have residents that live within the home. But with our homes, again, we have 6-bed group homes and we also have clusters. So with the 2 different styles, with the group homes are more, we have 24-hour support staff that come into the home and providing support, whether it's personal care, ensuring that residents are eating their meals, making sure they're getting their medicine on time if they have to go to any appointments, anything of that nature. Our staff are there to provide that support, as well as making sure that they're transporting them safely to get to the day program, whatever activities that they have. With our clusters, we have clusters across the state. Our clusters, again, tailored. We have 24-hour nursing staff also equipped to just provide support. Clusters are more for individuals that are a little bit more medically fragile, that require a lot more support. But again, we have group home settings and then we also have clusters. Our operations, we have locations from Homestead down in Miami where we have our 120-bed property. And then we also have across from Homestead all the way up to Tallahassee over to Daytona Beach over to Clewiston, Fort Myers, Cape Coral. So we're pretty much stretched across the state just providing residential services. But again, as I mentioned, we do offer a plethora of other services as well. Again, my name is Joseph Maiden here just to provide the information. If you'd like to learn more about residential opportunities, we'd love to have you out for a tour, possibly our day program or even one of our residential homes here in the area. Please just stop by the table. I'd love to share that information with you. Thank you.
So our next presenter came all the way from Tallahassee to be here to share important information with you all. Miss Lauren Eversole.
Seriously, I'm pumped. My name is Lauren Eversole, and yes, I live in Tallahassee. I drove all the way to Tampa, and I really enjoyed Tampa, so I was happy to come here. I am the interim director of the Advocacy, Education, Outreach Team at Disability Rights Florida. Disability Rights Florida is, let me see my slide here. There we go. Well, first, a little bit about myself. So I've worked at Disability Rights Florida since 2016, started out as a staff attorney, became a senior staff attorney, and somehow they made me an interim director. So I don't know if they knew what they were doing. They did that. I'm just kidding. Anyway, my background before I went to law school, I have a master's degree in social work. Before I went to law school, I did hospice social work and was inspired to do more. And so that's why I went to law school, and right after I found this position in Disability Rights Florida, and it's just the perfect mix for me. And so Disability Rights Florida, is enough about me. Disability Rights Florida is the state of Florida's protection and advocacy organization. We receive funding through multiple federal grants. We have a wide range of goals and priorities. We provide various services ranging from information and referral to investigation of abuse and neglect, assistance with ensuring that individuals have access, or advocacy, actually provide advocacy for equal access to education in the community. And in some cases, we do provide legal representation in various legal forums, such as administrative agencies that enforce disability laws, as well as state and federal court. In order to qualify for our services, we have a broad eligibility requirement. Basically, you just have to live in Florida and have a disability, and your issue will need to fall within our goals and priorities. And here are some examples of our goals and priorities. We investigate abuse and neglect in facilities that serve individuals with disabilities. We advocate to ensure the civil rights of individuals are protected, individuals with disabilities are protected, so that they have equal access to education, employment, and community. And we also provide information and referrals and education through outreach, like today, as well as assistance to empower individuals with disabilities to self-advocate for their rights. So on my team, we're split up in several teams at Disability Rights Florida because we cover a wide variety of issues. But on my team, we are heavily focused in education, and transition is a huge priority of ours. And so, it's relevant to our event tonight. So I just wanted to focus on it a little bit. So how many of you are familiar with the IDEA, the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act? It's the federal law that ensures that students with disabilities have access to a free and appropriate public education. This is the authority for students with disabilities to have access to an individualized education plan. So under the IDEA, school districts have an affirmative duty to provide transition planning for students with disabilities, and transition planning is designed to be a results-oriented process that's focused on improving the academic and functional achievement of the child with a disability to facilitate the child's movement from school to post-school activities. And it's based on the individual child's needs, taking into account their strengths, preferences, and interests. It can include things from instruction, related services, community experiences, development of employment, and other post-school adult living objectives, and if appropriate, acquisition of daily living skills, and also the provision of a functional vocational evaluation. Transition individualized education plans. Under the IDEA, by age 16 or earlier, school districts must address transition services and students' IEPs. In Florida, actually, we start earlier, so it's something unique to our state. Transition planning is required to begin at age 12 or 7th grade, whichever comes first. Florida law also requires a transition IEP to be implemented by the first day of high school. And students, I don't know if any of you are familiar with 504 plans. Some students have 504 plans rather than IEPs. Students with 504 plans are not legally required to have a transition plan, but they are entitled to transportation planning as part of their plan. So what should the transition individualized education plan include? Need for instruction and self-determination, vocational training, living skills, what type of high school program, curriculum that's necessary for the child, desired post-school outcome, job training, post-school adult living, functional vocational assessments, assistive technology and assistive technology services. And so to piggyback on what Mr. Moss was talking about earlier from VR, one thing that IEP teams have an affirmative duty to do is to identify and invite agencies from the outside to attend IEP meetings. And, we would definitely recommend for you to, talk with your IEP team about that. Even though it's one of those things that, they're supposed to do. A lot of times they have to remind them. But to, for instance, invite someone from VR or, once your child, you can go ahead and while your child is of transition age, try to link with VR, and if they're assigned a counselor, invite that counselor to the IEP meeting. Because ideally, you'd like for your child to have an individualized plan for employment or, a goal in place by the time they leave high school. So an individualized plan for employment is a blueprint to successful employment when using the services of Florida DDR and Florida Division of Applied Services. And that's, kind of like an IEP, the IPE is the roadmap to the services and supports that you need to achieve your job goal. And that's it. Well, hold on, let me, hold on. We, transition, IEPs are it's a very broad area, issues that transition age students face, are plenty. And we created a resource guide, and we have a couple of copies in the back. Of my colleague Selena at our table has a couple of copies of these, but we also have a QR code that you can scan to access everything that's in here. But it's a pretty comprehensive guide to all of the issues that students with disabilities face, or transition age students with disabilities face, and also it has a plethora of resources that you can access. So, thank you very much.
So the guide that she just held up, that's included in your goodie bag. So our next presenter, we go way back. She actually came to one of my very first events that I created. Phyllis Gutham works for the McDonald Training Center, and she's also a parent advocate with a child who's an adult.
Thank you. No clapping? Okay, that's better. I am Phyllis Guthman, and I have to say good evening to you all. I really appreciate, where did you go? Lisa inviting me, and I am so impressed by this turnout. So you should all give yourselves a big hand for coming out to learn. So let me be very clear, I will not be brief. That was a joke. So as I share some information, please keep in mind that most individuals spend the majority of their lives as adults. And as much as I value the importance of early intervention, I urge you to consider transition to adulthood with every practical, educational, and financial plan. It's never too early to start thinking about planning for transition to adulthood, keeping in mind behavior, communication, social, academic, and employability skills that are required for transition to life after high school. A lot of people say, after the transition, oh, I see so many friends. Hi friends. When transition happens, you age out at 22, you fall off the cliff. You don't fall off the cliff. It's just life. You just keep on living, and there are challenges and you face them. It's okay. There is no cliff. Don't believe that when they tell you. As a parent and a professional with more years of experience that I like to discuss and disability, I have learned that you really have to appreciate that planning should be directed and include the person who receives the report. The support. That's the only logical thing to do, but it's often overlooked. So I want to talk to you a little bit about person-centered planning. Does anyone here know what person-centered planning is, besides the card people? Okay. Person-centered planning is an ongoing problem-solving process. It's used to help people with disabilities plan for their future. Groups of people, and the groups would be stakeholders, so family members, support providers, people that you go to church with, friends, the guy who is the crossing guard, the grocer, whoever is in your little stakeholder circle. They come together and they focus on the individual and that person's vision of what they would like to do in the future. And then the person-centered team meets to identify opportunities for the focus person to develop personal relationships, participate in their community, increase control over their own lives, and develop the skills and abilities needed to achieve these goals. So this is a strategy that is well worth your time in investigating. The way I like to think of it is, think of someone with a huge butcher paper across the wall, and they're facilitating it, and then someone else has a bunch of markers and stickers and they're drawing the whole path out. You know, it's a great process, it's an ongoing process. I was fortunate enough to have that completed by the very great former Center for Autism Related Disabilities director, Karen Berkman, and a team, and it was beautiful. We still have it. There's a North Star on some person-centered plans, and then you backwards chain. How do you get to that North Star? So, you know, look into it. There are facilitators out here. I know the Center for Autism and Related Disabilities at USF. They are able to do that process, but you do have to be constituent and have, you know, someone with autism or related disabilities in order for them to do it. Another thing that you should really consider is eligibility and timelines for services. So healthcare, work, independence. For example, the Agency for Persons with Disabilities, that most people call APD, supports individuals with unique abilities in their families in living, learning, and working within their communities. They identify the service needs of people with developmental disabilities, and those individuals may receive social, medical, behavioral, residential, and/or therapeutic services. There is a wait list. They're not the only agency with a wait list. There are a lot of agencies, but I say that to tell you, you don't wait, hopefully, until your child is 21 and they're going to graduate next month, and what are we going to do? You do that as early as possible. When you need services, think about it very early. So based on the experiences of all the families I worked with over the years at either Florida Diagnostic and Learning Resources Systems or Arts for All Florida, or wherever I was, I started thinking about healthcare transition for my child. In fact, I started getting nervous because, you know, people can make you feel nervous. Oh, there's no doctors that work with children with disabilities. Oh, it's so horrible. It's gonna be so miserable. So I went, okay. So when my 17, at the time, 17-year-old son with a disability and my, let's just say she's typical, 13-year-old daughter were those ages, we went ahead and moved them from pediatric care to a family practice because I felt like if it's going to be difficult, I'm going to start early. We were fortunate. It wasn't difficult. We found doctors easily. It was a great transition for my son, but I've heard stories where people didn't have such a good transition. So you might want to not wait until your young adult is 6 feet tall in the pediatric, you know, waiting room with a bunch of kindergartners. It's not right. Don't do that to your child. Go ahead and do that transition. And we're very fortunate that there is Florida Health and Transition Services. It's called Florida HATS. It's a great resource to ensure successful transition from youth to adulthood, including those with disabilities, chronic health conditions, or other special healthcare needs. It's a really good resource created by a friend who creates great things and then she moves on to something else. So I'm going to talk about some of these resources, but you can look them up yourself. I believe there's going to be a handout, or you can get the PowerPoint, I believe, from Lisa if you contact her. And of course, there will be the video on YouTube. But when you're seeking resources, and one of the things I heard all the time was there's no resources out there. I can tell you for a fact that's not true. I published a magazine full of resources and I couldn't even list them all because it would have been an encyclopedia-sized book. There are resources. Accessing resources is an issue. Finding people that know where the resources are could be an issue, but there are plenty of resources. So what you want to do is start with the resources in your little warm community. So if you're the individual with a disability that you're involved with is in school, start with school. If they have an individual education plan or an IEP or a 504 plan, go to the ESE specialist, go to the guidance counselor, start there. If they are getting therapy or medical care, ask those people. It's a good place to start. They don't always have all the resources, but it's a good place to start. And you might want to consider continually educating yourself When my son was very young, and I mean very young, like 3, I traveled all over the county and the state attending conferences, trying to find out information that would help me better understand his disability and his chronic healthcare needs. One year on Mother's Day weekend, my girlfriend and I went out to Orlando to learn about autism. I mean, wow, our lives were just so empty, you know, that's what we did for Mother's Day. That's how we roll as special needs moms. That's all I gotta say. But now you don't have to do that anymore. There are a lot more resources out there. I found something that was incredibly empowering to me was the Florida Developmental Disabilities Council Partners in Policymaking group. It was life-changing for me. When I went to that program, and I think it might be 6 months, I'm kind of guessing, it's a long period of time, wherever you live and wherever they hold it, they will pay for you to go to that location and spend those weekends every month to get this training. All I was concerned about was my little person and his issues. And when I left there, I had a broad understanding of the history of disability. I had a broad understanding that anyone gets to join this fun club at any time in their life. And that when we work together, there's so much more strength than when we stay in our little cyclone, you know, our little silos of, I'm just interested in autism, I'm just interested in Down syndrome. So it was a wonderful program. I cannot talk about it any more than to say that it's something you should look into. It's a leadership training program. It prepares adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities and family members and legal guardians of persons with intellectual and developmental disabilities to be effective advocates at the local, state, and federal level. So it's well worth your time. It was like a little vacation for my girlfriend and I, because, you know, every month we knew we were going to go stay in some hotel and learn all the stuff. But it wasn't so much of a vacation for my husband, who had to take care of the kids, but it was wonderful. And while I'm talking about that and educating yourself, keep abreast of legislative issues. And this is not a political statement. I'm just saying that if you don't know what's going on that impacts your child in school or in adulthood, the rules and regulations and laws that are coming down, then you just have to live with it. So, you know, there are some great organizations, and I don't know if they're all here, but there are updates during the legislative session from the Family Cafe, from the Florida Disabilities, Developmental Disabilities Council, from our friends here at Disability Rights Florida. So, you know, you can go on Facebook or go to their websites and, you know, go ahead and learn about what's happening. And the other thing I think is important is there's so many great opportunities to learn and serve, especially with nonprofits that serve the disability community. Many of them have boards and advisory councils. Hillsborough County Public Schools has a superintendent's advisory council for the education of students with disabilities. The primary focus is to identify systemic strategies to improve outcomes for students with disabilities. I sit on that council. It's open to the public. Anyone can come. You can go to the Hillsborough County Public School District website and find that under the Exceptional Student Education tab. Just like my good friend Lisa, there's many boards that I've served on that I think that are important. That yes, some of them I did it was self-serving. It helped me and my son. But then I realized it helps the community at large. So consider doing that. Oh, they're already up there. As far as these information and resources, I'm not going to read what all of them are. If you have questions about any of these resources, I'll be at the table and you can ask me. But you know, there are things you might not think of, like Project 10, which is a transition education network. They have amazing resources. And what's another one that's interesting? Florida Inclusion Network has amazing resources. So, you know, start doing your homework a little bit at a time. It's a lot to absorb all at once, but if you take it step by step, you'll find that there's many resources out there for you. So now I'm going to talk about where I work, which is McDonald Training Center, which we call MTC. And we're celebrating 70 years of uniting hope with opportunity. It's an organization that is so much more than an adult day training center. We have a respected fine arts program with our own gallery at our Cypress location in Tampa. Our artists are amazing, and they're going to be participating in Gasparilla Arts Festival. They've done so every year for several years. These artists really want to be artists. It's not a program where people just doodle. They really want to be fine artists, and they have instructors that are artists that teach them the history of art. So it's a really wonderful program for those that are interested in that. For personal satisfaction, growth, and recreation. We have employment services that includes the Project Search adult model. Our site MTC is one of 4 Florida locations with this program. It's a 9-month training program that combines classroom instruction, career exploration, and hands-on experiential learning. For the past 2 years, we were located at Zoo Tampa, and we achieved our 70% goal of employment for those individuals that went through that course. So for 9 months, they went every day. It's like a job. And they rotated through the different areas of the zoo, whether it be customer service or rides or retail. And at the end, they were hired. And I think that's just amazing. It's just an amazing model. So I'm excited about that. As my old friend Milton Moss mentioned, there is career camps that we offer throughout the year during out of school time, during summer and winter. It's workplace readiness, self-advocacy training, post-secondary educational counseling. We have a couple that usually go at once. One is our technology camp, and they make little robots and do all kinds of fun things. So if you have a child in school, 14 to 21, it's free. They have to have an individual education plan or a 504 plan and be referred by their vocational rehabilitation counselor. We have community living services and much, much more. Now I'm going to talk about our education program, which is called Emerge Career Collaborative. And it prepares adults with disabilities for in-demand jobs. It's a customized post-secondary educational industry recognized program. And it is really amazing. Some of the programs require a 9th grade reading level, some do not. For children that have, or adults, our services are 18 and over. Most of our attendees that come to McDonald Training Center come after they graduate at 22. But if someone at 18 wants to come, they can. Emerge has certificate-based programs, and they include technology like Microsoft, the whole suite, CompTIA A+, and we also have Tech to Work, which is a wonderful collaboration with our friends Launch at USF, formerly the Learning Academy. We have Healthcare Hospitality, which is a collaboration with Moffitt Cancer Center, another wonderful collaboration. They actually built a replica of the hospital room at our Cypress site. So it's an exact replica of a Moffitt room, and they train in that room and they train in the computer center. So we've had some wonderful people that have gotten jobs there. One of them, he's done so well that he actually got off of Social Security and Medicaid. He's full-time. He has his own apartment now. He walks in or rides his bike to work. I mean, if that doesn't give you chills, I don't know what. I mean, that's a transformational thing that happened for this young man. So it's really incredible. We also have manufacturing logistics, and each of the programs lead to an industry standard certification. So we do have virtual open houses. We have one today at 1 o'clock. If you missed it, we have them every Friday. I have information on all of the programs. And one thing I forgot to mention was Family Cafe. And if I did mention it, I don't remember. They have a wonderful conference every year in June. Registration is open right now. I highly recommend if you haven't gone, or if you have gone, you might want to go again. It is amazing for resources. It's amazing for self-advocates, for individuals with disabilities. They have their own little track that they can attend that would be interesting for them. And they make it a lot of fun. And they do offer scholarships for families that will cover the hotel. So, but don't wait because the money runs out quick. So I'm going to leave you with, look, this is a journey. It's not a race. You know, I remember when my child was young, they're like, if he's not talking by sex, it's over. Well, that wasn't true. And if they haven't tied their shoes, make sure you keep that on the IEP plan. Well, that's ridiculous. They have slip-on shoes. Let's be real, folks. You want your child to successfully transition to adulthood. That's what I wanted for my so-called typical daughter. That's what I want for my son that has autism. And you just have to realize, even though there's a lot to learn, there are resources. So thank you once again. Thank you for the opportunity to share this evening, Lisa.
Our next presenter is Denise Barnes with CARD, which is the Center for Autism and Related Disabilities.
Thank you for that welcome. I meet her at every webinar and public event I do. As she said, I am Denise Barnes, and I do work for the Center for Autism and Related Disabilities at the at USL. I have a slide about that, so let me just follow my slides, because I tend to talk ahead of my slides. So I've been working in this field since 1987. I've worked with a plethora of individuals with developmental disabilities in 3 states. And I am a huge proponent for person-centered planning and full inclusion. My thing is, if they say it can't be done, figure out a way that it can be done, because anything can be done. Most of what they told us we couldn't do as a child, we're doing now anyway. So just figure it out. Find some accommodations, even if you have to pay somebody to do it. Just get it done. It can be done. And so, yes, Denise Barnes. And I also work for the Florida Center for Inclusive Communities at USL. And we have both of those tables back in the back. And what I love most is that we support individuals with varying disabilities to be fully included. And we have our information on that website is written for you, the parent and the self-advocate. It's not written for the professional, for your therapist or anything like that. It's written for you, and the information is for you. And that's one of the greatest reasons I love Disability Rights Florida's transition booklet, because it's written for you, not for you to give to somebody to interpret and tell you what it means. It's written for you. And so CARD provides services across the state of Florida. Our agency, our office provides services in 14 counties. There is a CARD center for every person who is a resident in the state of Florida. You just have to contact us and we'll let you know who it is. Our services are varied depending on who you are and what it is that you want to receive, and it looks different for every single family. It can be direct assistance. It can be helping you figure out what is autism. How do I teach my child math? How do I total train my child? How do I stop these challenging behaviors? It could be my child wanders or elopes or runs away, and I have to get the police to come find him. How do I deal with that? We can get you supports and services for all of that stuff. We can get you a safety kit. We can do whatever it takes. We can provide technical assistance as well to you, your caregivers, your therapist, your doctor, your bank, your school, anyone that is providing services or supports to your child. We can educate them on autism. We even do that for businesses. We do trainings for agencies, schools, businesses, parents. I am an adult consultant, so I even teach adults who are newly diagnosed how to understand autism. What is it? What are their symptoms? And what supports and accommodations they can use for those? So there's not a cafeteria of services that you can get, but it's individualized based on the family or the individual. We do resources and referrals as well. So instead of you spending 20 hours on Google trying to find something, just give us a call. If you have a consultant, email or call your consultant. We'll take 5 minutes to get you that answer instead of you spending 20 hours and then it's somebody who just wants your money and they don't really want to give you any services. So we will give you resources of people that we know have provided real services in the community, and our families have supported them. And then we also do special projects. We have several special projects, one of them being autism friendly, which is a program to train businesses on how to be friendly to your family members who have autism. We educate the staff, we help them create visuals, we help them be welcoming and inclusive in their activities and their events. And we also have a website that lists all of those agencies in the Tampa Bay area that are autism friendly. And you can have a social story that you can go on there. You can prepare your individual to go visit these places by using our autism friendly website. So they'll know what to expect when they go. Lee Day, who works at CARD, is one of the autism friendly professionals. And she does an amazing job working with businesses. There are hundreds of businesses that are listed on there. We also have coffee break and cafecito. Every other Friday, there's a live Facebook live event in which they interview a person or a group of individuals about different topics. Cafecito is when it's done in Spanish, and coffee break is when it's done in English. And yes, they do amazing topics. They talk about everything from childhood to adulthood. You know, whether it's dating, whether it's employment, whether it's safety issues, whether it's going on vacation or the type of things you want to buy for Christmas. So they do a lot of different things. We're very big proponents of safety at CARD because our with autism, drowning is the #1 cause of death for individuals on the autism spectrum. Safety is a big concern. We also know that wandering is a major concern for individuals with autism and also other intellectual developmental disabilities. And with that, we put a lot of efforts into safety programs, whether it's water safety, our safety kits, certain smoke alarms, working with counties and cities on programs and projects like Safety Net to make sure that if our children happen to wander, that they can be found safely and quickly. And so in Hillsborough County right now, they do have a safety net grant. So if your child has a tendency to wander or get lost, and you have to get search parties to go find them, or it takes you more than 5 minutes to go find them, and you're too scared to call the police, call Hillsborough County Sheriff's Department and get a safety net person for your child. Because they have a team that will immediately find your child. A few years before COVID, they found one adult child who had wandered, and they found him treading in the Hillsborough County River. If he had not had that bracelet on, they would not have found him. Okay, so it's very important that you do that. And we have lots of safety products on our table. Stop by, we're giving away many pounds for free, and we have information about our safety kits that we're giving away on our table as well. CARD also has an e-library. Everything you want to learn about autism is in our e-library, and it's free. You just have to register with us, and you can access any of those books at any time. Free. So that's another passion that we have. Right now, we have our Autism in Black features right now, and next week is going to switch over to Women with Autism. So we always have features, set of books every single month, but right now, you know, it's on there, but all the books are there and they are free to use. And we also have an online registration, so you don't necessarily have to come into the office and talk to somebody. You can register online for our services. And sometimes you can also register for just to get our newsletters to see what's going on. Check out our Facebook page because we have lots of things that are going on all the time all over the community. Last week we were at the Collard Green Festival in St. Pete, so we're always somewhere doing something. Another program I want to share with you guys is Launch, and I have information about Launch on the back table. And Launch provides employment, youth transition, and adult transition supports and services to individuals on the autism spectrum. And they also provide technical assistance and training to anyone or any agency that wants to learn more about supporting and hiring individuals on the spectrum, and also business solutions. They also offer employment services for individuals, not only with autism, but they have just expanded to other individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities, and they are going to be expanding to Veterans Service Center. So if you are a person with a special need and you are an adult and you need youth camp, youth, work experiences and particular things like that, they offer those supports and services to you. If you want to, you have an adult who's on the autism spectrum and they don't really know what it is they want to do yet, they have the Learning Academy, which is a one-year transition program in which they discover what it is that they want to do and come up with a plan. They get a mentor, they actually take classes for the class on campus at USF Tampa, and they have access to the entire campus, so everything but the gym. They can't use the recreational facilities, but they can use everything else on campus. And so these are the things that Launch provides and serves. They also have a Tech to Work program that they do at the McDonald Training Center. They do work readiness camps, spring, summer, and fall for youth 12 to 18, and then they also do some for adults. And they have some that are in person and some that are virtual as well. So if you have transition needs and services or employment needs and services for your loved one, reach out to Launch. They're a great resource for you. And you can connect with them. You can sign up for their newsletter. I also want to share with you that CARD is having our annual Fiesta by the Bay on Saturday, April 27th. It's open to anyone who wants to come and attend and have a fun time with us. We're also looking for sponsors. You can buy your tickets. You can sponsor us. This year, a new thing is there's family-friendly parking. This is actually included. We usually have it downtown Tampa, and parking is really hectic. This year, parking will not be hectic because it will be right there by where the event's gonna be. So I invite you all to join us on April 20th. I think you come have a fun with us. It's actually gonna be a silent, what is it called? Silent disco. So depending on if you like country music, you like rock and roll, you like R&B, or there's four different types of music, depending on the headset that you'll get, and you'll only get that music in your headset, and no one else will hear your music. So you won't be disturbing it won't be too loud, but you will have fun. So I invite you all to come out and join us for those. Thank you very much.
So Florida Developmental Disabilities Council couldn't attend the meeting, but they sent me some information that I incorporated into the PowerPoint. So you guys can go and look for further information. So the first slide is going to be planning ahead, the purpose of why we're here tonight. Then I also added the advocacy and leadership opportunities. So like I said, send me an email. You'll get this, PowerPoint immediately, or you can be on the lookout on AchieveAbility Therapy's website and you'll see the recorded version. This is what's going to be included in your goodie bag. And again, it's sponsored by Panther Law. These are our partners. And these are our sponsors. The Cracked Pepper Cafe is the dinner that you received tonight, graciously sponsored by CARD. Let's give them a round of applause. All right, it's question time. The City of Tampa ADA Coordinator, Ms. Raquel, is back there. She can introduce herself. She will come to you if you have a question so we can hear you.
Well, since nobody's raising their hand yet, I just wanted to put a little thought in your mind. When I used to be a parent advocate, I used to work for an agency called Advocacy Center for Persons with Disabilities, now called Disability Rights Florida. And the parents often said that before an advocate was involved, many times their IEP meetings were 15 minutes at most, which isn't really enough time to carefully review the IEP. So my recommendation to you as family is that in that meeting, you can certainly take more than 15 minutes. I would actually recommend a whole hour to scrutinize what that IEP says, and especially with the transition services, because you want to make sure that they're pulling in vocational rehabilitation and they're carefully outlining the transition services for your child. And that's going to be really critical, because sometimes they just go so fast and you're out of there and you don't even realize what you signed up for. So you want to carefully review that. Great resources here today. No